The letter from my parents sat unopened on my desk for 3 days, its crisp white envelope mocking me every time I walked past. I knew exactly what it would say. They needed money again, and their golden child Braxton couldn't provide it this time. I'm Maureen, and I've spent the last decade building my craft business from nothing while raising my son alone. Not that my parents noticed. They were too busy bragging about my brother's fancy corporate job and his penthouse apartment to pay attention to my little hobby, as my mother loved to call it. You really should open it, Hope said, carefully packaging another custom order. The afternoon sun streamed through the workshop windows, highlighting the intricate handmade pieces that had built my success. They wouldn't write if it wasn't important. That's exactly why I don't want to open it, I replied, focusing on the delicate metalwork in front of me. Important to them usually means Braxton needs a bailout. The workshop buzzed with activity. 6 employees crafting custom pieces, the gentle whir of tools, and the occasional ping of online orders coming through. This little hobby now supported 8 families, including my own. My phone buzzed. Lily's name flashed on the screen. "Have you opened it yet?" she asked without preamble. "Hello to you too," I laughed. "And no, I haven't. I'm busy running an actual business." "Maureen Blair, you're being childish. Just read the damn letter." "You sound like my mother," I groaned, earning a chuckle from Hope. "Someone has to be the voice of reason," Lily countered. "Remember last Christmas?" How could I forget? My parents had spent the entire dinner gushing about Braxton's latest venture while barely acknowledging my son's presence. The memory still stung. "Mum, where's Grandma?" Tommy had asked, his 7-year-old face falling as she rushed past his carefully made craft project to answer Braxton's phone call. "She's just busy, sweetie," I'd said, watching him slump in his chair. That night, I'd promised myself things would change. "Fine," I told Lily, "I'll open it. But you're buying drinks tonight if it's what I think it is." I hung up and grabbed the letter, tearing it open with more force than necessary. As I read, my hands began to shake. "Dear Maureen, we need your help. Your brother's investment didn't work out as planned, and we've lost everything. The house, our savings, all of it. We have nowhere else to turn. Please call us. Love, Mom, and Dad." Hope appeared at my shoulder reading the letter. "Oh, honey," she whispered. My phone rang again, my mother's number. Taking a deep breath, I answered. "Maureen." Her voice wavered. "Did you get our letter?" "Yes," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "What happened?" "Your brother. He had this opportunity. It seemed perfect. We thought—" She trailed off. "You thought giving him your retirement savings was a good idea." The words came out sharper than intended. "He said it was guaranteed. How were we supposed to know?" I closed my eyes, remembering all the times I'd warned them about Braxton's schemes. All the times they'd dismissed my concerns because what did I know? I just made arts and crafts. "Mum, I have to go. I have a business to run. Please, Maureen, we need somewhere to stay. Just until we figure things out." The workshop had gone quiet. I could feel my employees trying not to listen, but this was better than any soap opera. "I'll think about it," I said finally. "But Mom, if I help, it'll be on my terms this time." I hung up before she could respond. Hope squeezed my shoulder. "Whatever you decide, we've got your back," she said. I looked around my workshop, my real achievement, built with my own hands and determination. Maybe it was time to show my parents exactly what their unsuccessful daughter could do. The afternoon light caught the metal pieces on my workbench, sending scattered rainbows across the walls. Tommy's latest drawing hung proudly by my desk, next to our sales charts. All proof that success doesn't always look like a corner office and a designer suit. I picked up my phone and texted Lily. "Looks like you're buying drinks tonight. You won't believe what they did this time." Then I turned back to my work, already forming a plan. If my parents wanted my help, they were about to learn exactly what running a little hobby entails. And something told me they wouldn't like it one bit. "He did what?" Lily nearly spat out her wine. We were sitting in our usual corner booth at Murphy's Bar, the evening crowd providing enough background noise for privacy. "Convinced them to invest their entire retirement fund in some cryptocurrency scheme." I said, swirling my glass. And now it's all gone. How much? $300,000. I watched Lily's eyes widen. Their entire life savings, plus they mortgaged the house. Jesus Christ, she whispered. And they didn't consult anyone? A financial advisor? You? I laughed bitterly. Why would they consult their failure of a daughter? I mean, clearly my successful business means nothing compared to Braxton's investment expertise. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother. I'd been getting them hourly since our call. Please call us back. We don't know what to do. Lily read the message over my shoulder. So what are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Braxton's name flashed on the screen. I hit decline. That's the third time he's called today, I said. Probably wants me to fix his mess, like always. The phone rang again immediately. This time I answered. What do you want, Braxton? Maureen, thank God. His voice was frantic. Have you talked to Mom and Dad? You mean about how you convinced them to throw away their retirement on your get-rich-quick scheme? Yeah, we've talked. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. He sounded close to tears. The investment was solid. Everyone said, everyone? I cut him off. Or just those sketchy business partners you're always hanging around with. You don't understand how these things work, he snapped, falling back on his usual condescension. Sometimes investments... No, you don't understand how things work, I interrupted, my voice rising. Real business isn't about quick profits and fancy promises. It's about hard work and building something sustainable. But you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? The line went quiet. Lily signaled the bartender for another round. I need your help, Braxton finally said, his voice small. I can't fix this alone. You should have thought about that before gambling away our parents' future. I hung up, hands shaking. My phone immediately lit up with a text from my mother. Your brother is very upset. Please be kind to him. Unbelievable, I muttered, showing Lily the message. They're still defending him. Of course they are, Lily said gently. They've been doing it his whole life. Why stop now? My phone rang again. My father this time. I answered, putting it on speaker. Maureen? His voice sounded older than I remembered. We need to talk about what happens next. What happens next is you need to find a place to live, I said bluntly. The bank's taking the house, right? Yes, he admitted. We have 30 days to vacate. And let me guess. Braxton's penthouse is suddenly unavailable. He's dealing with some issues of his own right now. You mean he's broke too? I couldn't help the satisfaction in my voice. Maureen, please, my father's voice cracked. We have nowhere else to go. Lily raised an eyebrow at me. I knew that look. It meant I was about to do something either very smart or very stupid. Actually, I said slowly, I might have a solution, but you're not going to like it. Anything, he said quickly. We'll do anything. Come work for me. The words hung in the air. Both you and Mom. I need help in the workshop and you need somewhere to stay. I have that apartment above the studio. The silence stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Work? In your craft business? He sounded like I'd suggested they join the circus. Yes, Dad. My very successful craft business that grossed 7 figures last year. I let that sink in. But if it's beneath you... No, he said quickly. No, we'll think about it. Don't think too long. The offer expires in 24 hours and I have other candidates for the positions. After we hung up, Lily burst out laughing. You're evil, she said admiringly. Brilliant, but evil. They wanted help, I shrugged, finishing my wine. I'm helping. The fact that they'll have to work under their failure daughter is just... karma. My phone buzzed one final time, a text from my mother. We'll take the job. I showed Lily the message, a smile spreading across my face. Well, I said, looks like I have 2 new employees starting Monday. This should be interesting. To karma. Lily raised her glass. And to watching your parents learn what real work looks like. We clinked glasses and I couldn't help but feel a little thrill of anticipation. After all these years of dismissal and disappointment, it was finally my turn to call the shots. Monday morning arrived with a mix of rain and anxiety. I got to the workshop early to prepare for my parents' arrival, setting out the employee handbook and basic supplies at their new workstations. "Are you sure about this?" Hope asked, arranging tools with practiced precision. "They're your parents, not employees." "As of today, they're both," I replied, straightening a stack of training materials, "and they'll follow the same rules as everyone else." The workshop door chimed. My parents stood in the entrance, looking completely out of place. Mom clutched her designer handbag like a shield, while Dad fidgeted with his Rolex, probably the last valuable thing they owned. "Welcome to Blair Crafts," I said professionally. "Your shift starts at 8. You're early. That's good." "Maureen, honey," Mom started, her voice sugary sweet. "Perhaps we could discuss this over breakfast first. There's this lovely little cafe." "No time," I cut her off. "We have orders to fill. Hope will show you where to store your personal items." Mum's face fell, but she followed Hope to the employee lockers. Dad lingered, taking in the workshop with what looked like genuine curiosity. "This is impressive," he said quietly. "I had no idea it was so professional." "What did you think it was, Dad? Me sitting around making friendship bracelets?" He had the grace to look embarrassed. "Your brother always said—" "Let's get one thing clear," I interrupted. "Braxton's name doesn't mean anything here. This is my business, my rules, understand?" He nodded, following Hope's beckoning wave to the lockers. The morning training session was painful. Mom struggled with the basic safety protocols, constantly interrupting with suggestions about how things should be done. Dad surprisingly paid attention and asked relevant questions. "These need to be packed with extreme care," I demonstrated, showing them our most popular item, handcrafted metal jewelry boxes. Each one sells for $500, and our reputation depends on perfect quality. $500? Mum exclaimed. "For a box?" "For artwork," Hope corrected firmly. "Each piece takes hours of skilled labor." "Speaking of which," I continued, "your starting wage is $15 per hour, standard for new employees." $15? Mum's voice reached a new pitch. "But we're family." "Exactly why you're getting an apartment thrown in," I replied calmly. "Otherwise, it would be minimum wage like any other trainee." The morning crawled by. Mom managed to mess up 3 simple packaging jobs, while Dad slowly got the hang of basic quality control. By lunch break, the tension was thick enough to cut with one of our metalworking tools. "This is humiliating," Mom hissed during their break. "What will people think?" "They'll think you're learning an honest trade," I replied, not looking up from my inventory sheets, "which is more than Braxton's doing right now." "Don't talk about your brother like that," she snapped. "He's going through a difficult time." "And whose fault is that?" I finally looked up. "He lost everything you had, and you're still defending him?" "He made a mistake." "No, Mom. A mistake is burning dinner. What he did was fraud, and you enabled it. Now, your break's over. Those orders won't pack themselves." The afternoon brought a surprise visit from Angelina Wise, the potential investor I'd been courting. She arrived just as Mom was having another packaging crisis. "This is ridiculous," Mom's voice carried across the workshop. "I can't work with these cheap materials." I watched Angelina's eyebrows rise as she took in the scene. "Great timing, Mom." "Ms. Wise," I greeted her smoothly. "Welcome to Blair Crafts. Please excuse our new employees. They're still in training." "New employees?" She glanced at my red-faced mother. "Interesting hiring choices." "We believe in second chances," I said firmly, "and teaching valuable skills to those willing to learn." Angelina's expression shifted from skepticism to interest. "Admirable, though it must be challenging." "Growth usually is," I replied, leading her toward my office. "But we never compromise on quality, regardless of personal relationships." As we passed Mom's workstation, she straightened up, finally seeming to realize the importance of the moment. Dad caught my eye and gave a small nod, the first sign of real understanding I'd seen from either of them. The day ended with mixed results. 3 ruined products, 1 potential investor intrigued rather than scared off, and two exhausted parents realizing that arts and crafts wasn't quite what they'd imagined. "Same time tomorrow," I told them as they headed up to their apartment. "And Mom, leave the designer handbag at home. This is a workshop, not a country club." As I locked up, Hope appeared beside me. "They might surprise you," she said softly. "They already have," I replied, watching them climb the stairs. "Dad's actually trying, and Mom, well, she hasn't quit yet. Baby steps." Hope smiled. "Rome wasn't built in a day." "Neither was this business," I agreed, "and neither will their redemption be." 2 weeks into their employment, the differences between my parents became startlingly clear. Dad had taken to the precision work like a duck to water, while Mum still struggled with the most basic tasks. "No, Mom, that's not how we seal the boxes," I demonstrated for the 10th time that morning. "The ribbon needs to be exactly 45 degrees. "I know how to wrap a present, Maureen," she snapped, snatching the box back. "I've been doing it since before you were born. This isn't Christmas morning, it's a luxury product line. The presentation has to be perfect." "Well, maybe if you'd let me redesign the packaging." "Mom," I cut her off firmly, "you haven't earned that right yet. Master the basics first." She muttered something under her breath and started over. Again. Meanwhile, Dad was hunched over his workstation, carefully inspecting a batch of metal components. He'd developed a surprising eye for detail, catching flaws that even some of my experienced staff missed. "Maureen?" he called out. "Could you look at this? The finish seems off." I walked over, grateful for the excuse to leave Mum's station. He handed me a decorative clasp, pointing to a nearly invisible imperfection. "Good catch," I said, genuinely impressed. "That would have caused problems down the line." He beamed, and for a moment I saw a glimpse of the father I remembered from childhood, before Braxton's success had changed everything. The workshop door chimed, and Tommy burst in after school as usual. "Mom! Grandpa! Look what I made in art class!" He rushed to Dad's station, proudly displaying a clay sculpture. Dad set down his tools and gave Tommy his full attention. Something he'd rarely done before. "This is excellent craftsmanship," he said seriously, examining the piece. "You've got a good eye for detail, just like your mother." Mum's head snapped up at that, her eyes narrowing. It was probably the first time Dad had ever compared anyone favourably to me. "Thanks, Grandpa," Tommy grinned. "Can you teach me how to make the metal boxes like you do?" "Well, that's up to your mother," Dad replied, looking at me questioningly. "Maybe we can set up a small workstation for you on Saturdays," I said, watching Tommy's face light up. "If you finish all your homework first." "I will." He hugged me tight, then ran to show his sculpture to Hope. "He's so much like you," Dad said quietly. "I never noticed before, but he has your focus, your creativity." "Funny how you can see it now," I couldn't help saying. Dad's face fell slightly. "Maureen, The crash from Mum's station interrupted whatever he was about to say. She'd knocked over an entire shelf of packaging materials, sending ribbons and boxes scattering across the floor. "That's it!" she cried, throwing her hands up. "I can't do this anymore. This is beneath me." The workshop went silent. Even Tommy stopped chattering. "Beneath you." I walked over slowly. "Like I was beneath you for all those years, like my choices were beneath you." "That's not what I meant." "No, it's exactly what you meant." "Well, here's the thing, Mom. This beneath you business pays your rent now. It feeds you. It keeps you from being homeless after your golden child destroyed your savings." "Paris," Dad's voice was stern as he joined us. "Stop it. Maureen's right." Mum's mouth fell open. "Ronald, you can't be serious." "I am. Look around." He gestured at the workshop. "Our daughter built this from nothing, while we were too busy praising Braxton's shortcuts to notice. I'm proud to work here." Mum sank into her chair, tears welling up. "I don't know how to do anything else," she whispered. "Then learn," I said, softer now. "That's all I'm asking. Just try." Hope appeared with a broom and dustpan. "Here," she said kindly to Mum. "I'll help you clean up, and then we can go through the packaging steps again. Sometimes it helps to have a different teacher." Mum nodded, wiping her eyes. As she and Hope cleaned up the mess, Dad touched my arm. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for a lot of things. I know, I replied, watching Tommy help pick up ribbons. But actions speak louder than words. Speaking of actions, he hesitated. Braxton called me yesterday. He wants to visit. My stomach clenched. What did you tell him? That he needs to talk to you first. It's your business, your rules. He smiled slightly. I'm learning. I squeezed his hand briefly, then turned back to the workshop floor. Mum was actually listening to Hope now, nodding as she demonstrated the correct ribbon technique. Small steps, I murmured, echoing Hope's words from 2 weeks ago. But steps in the right direction, Dad added, returning to his station. I watched my family, all of them, including Tommy and Hope, working together in my workshop and felt something shift. Maybe redemption wasn't as far away as I'd thought. The moment that changed everything happened on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was preparing for my final presentation to Angelina Wise when I heard Mom gasp from her workstation. Oh my goodness, she whispered, holding one of our custom music boxes. It's playing my wedding song. I looked up to see her transfixed, watching the delicate metalwork dance as the melody played. Dad walked over and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Remember our first dance? He asked softly. Of course I do, she replied, then turned to me with wet eyes. Maureen, did you make this? Last week, I said, approaching carefully. It's a custom order for a 40th wedding anniversary. The detail is extraordinary, she traced the patterns with her finger. I had no idea. All these years, I never really looked at what you were creating. Hope caught my eye across the workshop and smiled. Finally, Mom was seeing it, really seeing it. Could you... She hesitated. Could you teach me how to make one? Before I could answer, the workshop door opened and Angelina Wise strode in, immaculate in her business suit. Maureen, she called out. I hope I'm not too early for our meeting. Not at all, I replied, switching into business mode. Mum, we'll talk about the music boxes later. But Mum didn't move. Instead, she picked up the music box and walked straight to Angelina. You have to see this, she said, her voice filled with an enthusiasm I hadn't heard in years. Look at what my daughter created. I froze. This wasn't part of the plan. Mom had never praised my work to anyone. Angelina raised an eyebrow but accepted the box. As the melody played, Mom launched into an explanation of the craftsmanship, the hours of work, the precision required, all things she'd learned over the past weeks. And see this pattern here? Mom pointed to the lid. Maureen designed it to match the couple's first dance song. Every piece tells a story. Impressive, Angelina said, studying the box more closely. You seem very knowledgeable about the process. Oh, I'm still learning, Mom laughed. I used to think this was just a hobby, can you believe it? Now I'm here every day seeing the artistry involved. The attention to detail is extraordinary. Dad joined them, adding his own observations about quality control and craftsmanship. I stood back, watching my parents enthusiastically sell my business to a potential investor. Something I never thought I'd see. Well, Angelina turned to me, smiling. I came here concerned about your family employment situation, but I can see I needn't have worried. Shall we discuss numbers in your office? An hour later, I emerged with a signed investment contract. The workshop erupted in cheers. I'm so proud of you, Mom hugged me tight. I'm sorry it took me so long to see what you've built here. Better late than never, I replied, hugging her back. About that music box, she pulled away, looking nervous. I had an idea. What if we created a vintage collection, based on classic love songs? I still have connections in the antique community. Actually, I said slowly, that's not a bad idea. We could market them as heirloom pieces. Really? Her face lit up. You'd consider my suggestion? Mom, you just helped me land a major investor. I think you've earned the right to make suggestions. Hope appeared with champagne glasses. I think this calls for a celebration. As we toasted our success, my phone buzzed. A text from Braxton. Heard about the investor. Congratulations. Can we talk? Everything okay? Dad asked, noticing my expression. It's Braxton, I showed him the message. He wants to talk. Are you going to respond? I looked around my workshop, at Mom explaining her vintage collection idea to Hope, at Tommy doing homework at Dad's workstation, at the signed contract on my desk. Not today, I replied, putting my phone away. Today is about celebrating how far we've come. Speaking of which, Dad cleared his throat, your mother and I have been talking. We'd like to stay on, even after we get back on our feet, if you'll have us. You want to keep working here, even though it's beneath you. Nothing about what you've built here is beneath anyone, he said firmly. We were wrong about so many things, Maureen. Let us make it right. Well, I pretended to consider it. Mom does have some interesting ideas about the vintage line, and your quality control is getting pretty good. He grinned, understanding my teasing. Besides, I added, Tommy loves having you here. We all do, Hope chimed in, raising her glass. To family, both blood and chosen. To family, everyone echoed. As we celebrated, I watched Mom showing Tommy how to tie the perfect bow on a package, something she'd finally mastered herself. Sometimes, I realized, the biggest transformations happen in the smallest moments, like a mother finally seeing her daughter's worth through a simple music box. The letter from Max arrived on the same day as Braxton's surprise visit, because apparently the universe has a twisted sense of humor. I was reviewing Mom's designs for the vintage collection when Hope knocked on my office door. Maureen, your brother's here. My head snapped up. Through the glass walls, I could see Braxton standing awkwardly in the workshop wearing a suit that looked significantly less expensive than his usual attire. Send him in, I said, squaring my shoulders. Braxton entered, looking around my office with the same wonder Dad had shown on his first day. This is impressive. What do you want, Braxton? He sat down, fidgeting with his tie. I've been trying to call you. I've been busy running a successful business, something you might want to try sometime. He winced. I deserve that. I deserve worse, actually. He pulled out some papers. I've been meeting with a bankruptcy lawyer, trying to make things right. Before I could respond, Mum appeared in the doorway, freezing when she saw Braxton. I'll come back later, she said quickly. No, stay, I called out. This concerns you too. She entered hesitantly, standing behind my chair. I noticed she was wearing her workshop apron, complete with our company logo, a far cry from her designer outfits of the past. Mom, Braxton's voice cracked. You look different. I'm working, she replied simply. Something I should have done years ago. Just then, Hope knocked again. Sorry to interrupt, but this just came for you, Maureen. It's marked urgent. She handed me an envelope with Max's familiar handwriting. Great. Just great. What's that? Braxton asked, probably grateful for the distraction. Nothing. I tucked the letter away. You were saying something about bankruptcy? Right. He straightened up. I'm liquidating everything. The penthouse, the cars, everything. It won't cover what Mum and Dad lost, but it's a start. And then what? I asked. Another get-rich-quick scheme? Actually, he looked down at his hands. I was hoping. I've seen how well Mum and Dad are doing here. No, I said immediately, absolutely not. Maureen, Mum started. No, Mom, this isn't about family anymore. This is about business. He's not qualified. I could learn, Braxton insisted. Like Mom and Dad did. They earned their places here. They showed up every day, worked hard, admitted their mistakes. When's the last time you did any of those things? The silence was deafening. Mom's hand squeezed my shoulder, not in reproach, but in support. Your sister's right, she said quietly. You need to earn your way back, just like we did. Braxton's eyes widened. This was probably the first time Mom had ever taken my side over his. I don't know how, he admitted. Start by making things right, I said. Really right, not just throwing money at the problem. Show up, work hard, prove you've changed. And then? Then we'll talk, but not before. He nodded slowly, standing up. I understand. Thank you for seeing me. After he left, Mom hugged me tight. I'm proud of you, she whispered. For turning him away? For standing your ground, for being stronger than I ever was. I pulled out Max's letter, turning it over in my hands. Speaking of standing my ground, Mum looked at the envelope. Is that from Tommy's father? Yeah. I opened it carefully, reading quickly. He's moving back to town, wants to be more involved in Tommy's life. Are you okay? I don't know, I admitted. Last time he was around, I let him make me feel small, like my work wasn't important enough. Like we did, Mum said softly. Yeah. But you're not that person anymore, she pointed out. And neither are we. Hope poked her head in. Sorry, but the new shipment of materials just arrived, and we need your approval on the vintage prototypes. I stood up, tucking Max's letter away. Back to work? Back to work, Mum agreed, following me out. The workshop was buzzing with activity. Dad was training a new employee, Tommy was doing homework in his special corner, and Hope was organising the shipping station. You know, Mum said as we walked to her design station, Max never understood what you were building here. Neither did we for a long time. But now I see that you built something much bigger than a business. You built a family. I watched my son wave excitedly as Dad showed him a new technique, saw Hope's proud smile as she reviewed Mum's designs, felt the steady pulse of creation and purpose that filled every corner of my workshop. Yeah, I agreed. I guess I did. The letter in my pocket seemed lighter somehow, less threatening. I had built this. I had proven myself. And no one, not Braxton, not Max, not anyone, could make me feel small again. The day of the final investment meeting with Angelina arrived with unexpected chaos. Tommy was sick, Mom's vintage prototype had a last-minute defect, and Max showed up unannounced at the workshop. I thought we could talk, he said, standing in the doorway looking exactly as he had 3 years ago when he'd walked out. About Tommy. Not now, I replied, rushing past with a stack of presentation materials. I have an important meeting. It's always not now with you, Maureen. Always about the business. Excuse me, I whirled around. You mean the business that supported our son while you were finding yourself in Europe? Mum appeared at my elbow. Maureen, Angelina just called. She's running 15 minutes late. Thank God, I breathed. Can you help Hope finish the prototype? Already on it. She glanced at Max. Hello, Max. Still bad at timing, I see. He blinked, clearly thrown by my mother's presence, and her protective tone. Mrs. Blair, you work here. It's Paris now, and yes, I do. Proudly. She turned to me. Go check on Tommy. I'll handle things here. I rushed upstairs to find Dad giving Tommy soup, reading him one of our product catalogues like a storybook. And this one, he was saying, was inspired by your mum's first craft fair display. Is she going to be rich after today, Grandpa? Dad chuckled. She's already rich in the ways that matter, buddy. But yes, this meeting is very important. Mom? Tommy spotted me. Can you stay? Just for a minute, sweetheart. How's your fever? Better. Grandpa makes good soup. Your dad's downstairs, I said carefully, watching his reaction. Tommy's face scrunched up. Does he want me to go with him? No one's going anywhere, Dad said firmly. Especially not while you're sick. My phone buzzed, Hope texting that the prototype was fixed. Another message from Lily. On my way with backup presentation copies. I have to go. I kissed Tommy's forehead. Dad, can you... Go, he smiled. We've got this covered. Downstairs, I found Max arguing with Mom while Hope tried to mediate. This is a family matter, Max was saying. You can't just... We are family. Mom cut in. Where were you when Tommy had the flu last winter? Or when he won the school art contest? We were here. Every day. I made mistakes, Max admitted, but I want to make it right. Then do what Maureen did, Hope interjected. Build something. Prove yourself. Show up. The workshop door chimed, Angelina arriving with her team of investors. Maureen, she called out. Ready to show us what you've been working on? I straightened my jacket, gathering my confidence. Absolutely. Mom, could you bring the vintage prototype? Of course, she said proudly, shooting Max a look that clearly said, watch and learn. The presentation went better than I could have hoped. Mom demonstrated the vintage line with passionate expertise. Dad provided quality control statistics, and Hope showcased our production capabilities. "And your family involvement?" one investor asked. "Is it sustainable?" "Family is the foundation of this business," I replied. "Not just blood relations, but the family we've built here. Every person in this workshop has a stake in our success, including him." Angelina nodded toward Max, who was still hovering by the door. "No," I said firmly. "He's just visiting, and leaving soon." Max stepped forward. "Actually, I'd like to apply for a position." The room went silent. Mom dropped her pen. "What?" I asked. "You were right," he said. "About building something. About proving myself. I want Tommy to be proud of me like he is of you." "We're not hiring," I replied automatically. "Yes, we are," Hope chimed in. "For the shipping department. Entry-level position." I glared at her, but Angelina was nodding approvingly. "Family businesses that succeed," she said, "are the ones that allow for growth and redemption while maintaining clear boundaries." She pulled out a contract. "I think we've seen everything we need to see." 2 hours later, with the investment deal signed and the investors gone, I found myself facing Max again. "Entry level means minimum wage," I said. "No special treatment." "I understand. And you'll report to Hope, not me." "That's fair. And Tommy stays with me. Any relationship you build with him happens on his terms, not yours." He nodded. "Thank you for the chance." "Don't thank me yet." I handed him an employee handbook. "You start Monday. Don't be late." As he left, Mum and Dad appeared beside me. "You're doing the right thing," Mum said softly. "Am I?" "You're giving him the same chance you gave us," Dad pointed out. "The chance to earn his place." I looked around my workshop, now expanded thanks to the new investment, and felt a strange sense of completion. We'd all come full circle somehow. "Speaking of chances," Hope called out, "Braxton's online too. Something about community college courses in business management?" I smiled. Maybe redemption ran in the family after all. The workshop hummed with activity as we prepared for our first major trade show. Mum's vintage collection had become our bestseller. Dad had trained 3 new quality control specialists, and even Max had worked his way up to assistant shipping manager. "Tommy, careful with those display pieces," I called out as my son proudly arranged his own craft corner in our booth setup. "I know, Mom." He rolled his eyes exactly like I used to. "Dad already showed me how to pack them properly." I caught Max's smile from across the room. He'd earned that smile, showing up every day for the past 3 months, working his way up from the bottom. "Maureen?" Hope appeared with a stack of orders. "Braxton's here with his final project." My brother walked in, carrying a handcrafted presentation box. No designer suit this time, just workshop-appropriate clothing and the humble demeanour he'd developed since starting business classes. "I designed it myself," he said, opening the box to reveal an intricate family tree crafted in metal and wood. "Each branch represents a different aspect of the business." Mom wiped away tears as she examined it. "It's beautiful." "Look at the base," Dad pointed out. "He used Maureen's original logo design." "Because everything we've built stands on her foundation," Braxton said quietly. "I finally understand that." Before I could respond, Angelina walked in with another investor. "Perfect timing," she said. "Braxton, would you show us your project? I'm particularly interested in how you've integrated traditional craftsmanship with modern business principles." As Braxton led them through his presentation, I felt Lily squeeze my arm. "Look at your family," she whispered. "All of them, working together. Did you ever imagine this?" I watched Mom advising a new employee on vintage designs, Dad demonstrating quality control standards, Max helping Tommy with his display, and Braxton explaining his project to investors. "Speaking of family," Hope called out, "the adoption papers came through this morning. I'm officially Tommy's godmother." Tommy ran to hug her. "Does this mean I get extra workshop privileges?" "It means you have even more people who love you," I laughed. "And who'll make sure you follow proper safety protocols," Hope added with a wink. "Maureen?" Mum approached, holding a small package. We all made something for you." The workshop grew quiet as I opened it. Inside was a music box, but unlike any we'd made before. It played the lullaby I used to sing to Tommy when he was small. "Open the lid," Dad said softly. Inside, each family member had crafted a small piece. Mom's vintage-style flourishes, Dad's precise metalwork, Braxton's modern elements, Max's practical additions, Hope's signature details, and in the centre, a small heart made by Tommy. "Read the inscription," Braxton pointed to the base. "Engraved in my father's precise handwriting. The strongest foundations are built with forgiveness, sustained by love, and reinforced by family." "We needed to show you," Mom said, her voice trembling, "that we understand now. All of us." "Understand what?" "That success isn't measured in money or status," Dad continued. "It's measured in the lives you touch, the family you build. And the chances you give people to earn redemption," Max added. "Even when they don't deserve it," Braxton finished. Tommy tugged at my sleeve. "Play it, Mom." I wound the key, and the familiar lullaby filled the workshop. The same lullaby that had comforted Tommy during midnight feedings, that had played in my head during long hours building my business, that had given me strength when I felt alone. "We have 30 minutes until the trade show opens," Hope announced, practical as always despite her wet eyes. "Right," I cleared my throat. "Places everyone. Mom, you're leading the vintage collection presentation. Dad, quality control demonstrations. Braxton, you're with the investors. Max, shipping logistics. Hope, you're running point on new orders." "What about me?" Tommy asked. "You," I smiled, "are going to help me show everyone what this family can create together." As we took our positions, I placed the music box at the centre of our display. Its melody carried across the workshop. Not just a lullaby anymore, but a symphony of second chances, hard work, and family bonds rebuilt stronger than before. "Ready?" Lily asked as the doors prepared to open. I looked at my family, all of them chosen in blood, working together in the business I'd built, that we'd all helped grow. "Ready," I replied, and opened the doors to welcome the world into our workshop, our family, our future. The music box played on, its melody weaving together all our stories of redemption, forgiveness, and the kind of success that couldn't be measured in dollars but in the strength of the bonds we'd forged, tested, and ultimately made unbreakable. Made unbreakable. Made unbreakable. Made unbreakable. Made unbreakable.